Holistic Health Awareness series. And this one is going to be a doozy. The title, of course, A Holistic Approach to Sexual Well-Being, the work of a somatic sex educator. And when I turn you over to our host, she will tell you all about her. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rodney Piggott. I'm the chair of Tobago Civil Net, who is the sponsoring organization of this event. The committee that we have formed to put on these events is the Holistic Health Awareness Tobago Committee. I'll give you a little bit about Tobago Civil Net. We're a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to promote interest in strengthening and building democracy, provide or facilitate public discussion panels or other programs to impart knowledge, promote the work of existing civil society groups, and facilitate social relationships. CivilNet is committed to the vision of stirring civil society to play a more informed and crucial role in all areas of people activity within Tobago. And those, of course, interested in helping with the mission of Tobago CivilNet may send an email expressing interest to tobagocivilnet@gmail.com, or you can contact myself at 323-1958. And a little bit about the Holistic Health Awareness Tobago Committee, or what? It's a committee of Tobago CivilNet, as I stated. It comprises members of CivilNet and non-members that have a common interest in raising the awareness of holistic health in Tobago. What launched the first season of its Holistic Health Awareness series on March 22nd, 2023, and is to be followed by several episodes featuring knowledgeable persons such as medical doctors who have adopted a holistic approach to their practice, and persons who have done extensive research and study in the area of holistic health, as long as the approach they take involves the body, the mind, and the spirit. We consider them holistic practitioners. Of course, if you're interested in collaborating with WHAT, you can also send an email to tobagocivilnet@gmail.com. And that's enough for me. What I'm going to do now is turn you over to our flight attendant, or our host for the evening, and she will guide us through the evening. Her name is Ms. Asabi Caterson. She's a dynamic woman that recently moved into the hosting space as she seeks to expand on her talents. She's an entrepreneur, currently growing her own service-based business as a virtual assistant under the name Vert Relief. I like it. She's one of the organizers of Tobago Island Market. Asabi remains passionate about the creative arts such as writing and voice acting. In addition, like many of us here, she also has a passion for the development of this beautiful island. Asabi's main goal is to become a published author, and all roads she takes brings her one step closer to that dream. Let's give a warm applause for Ms. Asabi Caterson, your dynamic host for the evening.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you so much, Mr. Piggott. That was really great. Thank you, guys, all for being here. The Tobago Civil Net is so lucky to be blessed with these persons who continuously choose to volunteer, such as our presenter later today that you're going to hear so much from. Okay, so I am about to introduce a very talented young lady, Kavisha Cordis. Kavisha is a Caribbean creative from the Twin Island of Trinidad and Tobago. Kavisha is not only a published author, songwriter who dabbles occasionally in visual arts, but also a songwriter, who dabbles occasionally in visual arts by making beading mosaics. Though it may pivot towards various aspects of the human experience, her work is centered on mental health and spirituality. All she really wants from her body of work is to know that it leaves just one person feeling less alone in their journey through the human experience. And that is her motivation to create. So at this time, we welcome Ms. Kavisha Cordis, otherwise known as just Kavisha, to bless us with a wonderful warm-up cultural exercise, display, performance. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kavisha.
Hello, everybody. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you all. Really, really, really grateful for the opportunity. It was something that I was told about today, so I really had to kind of, pull things together while I was at work. But before we start the seminar, I think it would be best for us to just do some breath work, really center ourselves, ground ourselves to prepare for the information we are about to receive in order to truly intake it and remember what is being taught here. This is something that some people that don't really know about. A lot of people still trying to figure out what this is about. Somatic healing, what is this? So I just want to ask that you all just focus. If I could get everybody to just close their eyes, right? Just close your eyes. I want you to think about your happy place. Think about being at the side of a beach, hearing the waves hit the sand, feeling the sun on your skin just slightly, not burning, but just a light sun to remind you that you're alive and all your limbs are working. If I could get you to just move your fingers, the fingertips a little bit, check in with your body, right? Move your shoulders, check in with your body, Shift your knees around, move your toes in your shoes. Just check in with your body and remind yourself that I am here, I am physically here, I am mentally here, I'm spiritually here, I'm all of these things simultaneously. Then this is a wonderful experience, all right? So keep your eyes closed. I just want you to breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. And breathe out. In for 4. Hold for 4. And out. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to learn. Know that we are always learning from birth to earth. We are consistently and continuously learning how to be better for you, how to be better as individuals. I just want to thank you so much for this person that is willing to volunteer her time to teach us about this practice, to teach us about how beneficial it will be for us in our lives. We just want to give you all the thanks, all the praise, all gratitude is to you. I thank you so much for just every single person that has made the decision to come, whether they are here in physical or in spirit. Thank you that we are going out there and we're reaching more and more people as we progress. Just thank you so much, God, for everything. Again, just amen. Thank you, Lord. All right.
Thank you so much for that, Kavisha. I feel everyone feels a bit warmed up and a bit more relaxed now that we've had that wonderful exercise. Okay, and we just want to take a minute to say hello to all the viewers online that are with us online. We welcome you. Thank you for your time. At this moment, I have the honor of introducing our presenter. Ms. Onika Henry is a Widener University-trained sexologist who has she's a MD, who has a BA in theater arts with a minor in psychology from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, a certificate in sex therapy from the California Institute of Integral Studies, and a certificate in somatic trauma therapy from the Embody Lab. She is also a certified sex coach, CSC, a certified 4D wheel practitioner, a sex and faith trainer from the Incarnation Institute for Sex and Faith, and a sexology body worker, somatic sex educator in training. She uses this combination of specialties for the benefit of her clients who need to talk about sex and sex-related issues, which I think is everyone, everyone, in an environment that is healthy, fun, transformative, and most of all, safe and non-judgmental. zoning in on that non-judgmental, which I think we do need more of in this society. Onika lives on the island of Tobago, where she volunteers as at both a halfway home for ex-convicts and an art-based NGO for children. Ms. Henry was a 2019 TEDx Port of Spain speaker, a Fulbright scholar in 2012, and is the co-founder of the Tobago Theatre Company, top performing arts company in Tobago, which focuses on expressive arts for social and behavior change. So without further ado, our presenter for this evening, Ms. Onika Henry.
Thank you so much, Asabi. It's always interesting to hear people talk about me. It seems like, am I really that person? I did all of that? When? All right, so I'm going to connect my iPad to the screen. Hopefully it works. Technology has a way of having fun with us. Is anything showing up on the screen? Not yet. Right. Okay, good. Nothing explicit up, right? No, okay. Yeah, I always have to remember, just because of the work that I do, I always have all kinds of, sexually. Good. Thanks for the grace. All right. So let me make sure I am on the mic. Let's pull up this presentation. All right. Slide is visible? All right, lovely. So today we're going to talk about a not so well-known aspect of sexual healing, sexual wholeness, sexual wellness. And so this is a certification that I am currently pursuing as a sexological body worker and somatic sex educator. What does that mean? What do we do? So first I'm going to show and share with you my first set of qualifications, what those are, and specifically what they can help you with. Oops, hold on. All right. Right, so I'm going to share also the gap that I discovered between the qualifications that I had and the skill sets that I actually needed to address a certain class of folks that kept coming to me, who I was routinely exposed to. So what I found is that my very first training in human sexuality is a Master's of Education in Human Sexuality from Widener University in the USA. And that was focused a lot on developing lesson plans, curricula, etc. And then I went on to do sex coaching. So I will show you what I first got, what I got afterwards, and what they prepared me to be able to handle. I'm going to give you also two very frequent and possibly familiar examples, one male and the other female, of the type of issues that I'm presented with daily, and how my newest skill set, which is the somatic sex education and sexological bodywork, is used to treat with them. So let's start with my initial studies. So Masters of Education, an MED, and as a certified sex coach. Both of these are what you would call talk-based therapies, talk-based interventions. So you come, and with the MED, what I was able to do is consultations. So someone could come into me, or an organization can come to me, and I could assess what their sexual needs are related to education, training, teaching, what are the knowledge base that they needed to build up, what skills do they need to have to talk about sex, to deal with issues, explain how sex and sexuality work, and then determine, based on the assessment, these are the lessons that need to be taught, these are the skills that need to be developed. I could also design, implement, and develop lesson plans, workshops, and curriculum. I think the plural is curricula. Yeah, curricula, okay. I can also teach sexuality education at all levels, so from preschool right up to tertiary level. And I've also developed specific classes for senior citizens, right? So right through the lifespan, my training allowed me to address all the developmental issues that come with every age and stage as it relates to your sexuality and sexual health. I'm also trained to advise policymakers, so those who are involved in HIV policy making, adolescent programs dealing with adolescent pregnancies, sexual orientation issues that may come up, gender issues, and also including and looking at it from a multicultural perspective. Right? Different cultures, different societies view sex and sexuality issues very, very differently. And so how do you treat with that if you have a community that includes folks who have come from other spaces, who've come from other countries, who've come from cultural backgrounds different to yours? Right? How do you make sure that your services are able to reach everybody? Right? So this is what my MED allowed me to do. Oh, there are some circles up on the screen. Yes? Are you seeing those? Okay. So this is the model that is taught at for those who are going to do sex education. This is called the circles of sexuality. This is what sex education is based on. Circle on top, sensuality. Every single topic under sensuality has a lesson plan. And those lesson plans are designed based on the age and stage of the persons I'm teaching. So body image, what happens to the body in terms of sexual response, fantasy, human touch, physical attraction. So human touch as in skin hunger. Skin hunger is a thing. I like to point out to persons, particularly parents and teachers, that a lot of times when our teenagers are engaging in a lot of sexual activities, not that they're seeking sex per se, but that need to be held, that need to be touched. And if those needs could be met outside of sexual activities, you may find that they will engage less and less at a particular age group. Yeah, so that's interesting to me to mention so that you remember that. Just note that, of course, not all of these topics will be taught at preschool because it's not applicable, right? But there is something for preschoolers under this topic of sensuality. Then we talk about intimacy. Once again, lesson plans for all of these: caring, sharing, liking, loving, emotional risk-taking, vulnerability. The next circle, sexual identity. So gender identity, gender roles, gender orientation, and how gender has changed over time, how it's been different in different cultures. How the fact that the word gender does not exist in every culture. It's a very Western view. So for some cultures, the word is not even translatable. All right? Next circle, sexual health and reproduction, feelings and attitudes about sexual practices. So this is where I like to say the rubber hits the road. We are now engaging the body with another body or the body on its own when it comes to sexual energy, arousal, STIs, pregnancy, etc. This is what we tend to focus on when we hear sex ed. And we tend to focus on it from the viewpoint of pathology, disease prevention, pregnancy prevention. We never talk about the other things like pleasure, which is really what motivates most of us to engage in sexual activity. And then the last circle is an interesting mix of things, sexualization. So when you look in that circle, you're seeing flirting, you're seeing seduction, you are seeing sexual harassment. So it can be, well, let me put it this way. This is all about using influence, power, and control when it comes to sex. So using sex for influence, power, control is what sexualization is all about. That can be a playful, consensual activity between adults, like the flirting, perhaps the seduction, but it can get negative and harmful where we're talking about people using sex to have power and control over another person to their detriment, as with sexual harassment, rape, etc. Notice that out of these 5 circles, one circle, and a part of that one circle actually talks about sexual intercourse. So all of this is sex education. Yeah, sex doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens within a context: religious context, cultural context, social context, developmental context, abilities and disabilities, physical disabilities versus intellectual disabilities, etc., etc. Yeah? And so if there is a good rapport between authorities and leadership and teachers and religious leaders, they will understand that this is something everybody needs to have at every age and stage so that they make better decisions about their sexual health. And just as a note, abstinence is a lesson plan in sex education. We teach it. It is not a talent we are born with, at least not all of us. It's a skill you can teach. All right? It's a skill you can teach. And it's a skill that you can teach not just to youth, but to adults. Some of us need to learn abstinence skills or refusal skills, how to say no, how to negotiate your way out of a situation, and perhaps still figure out how to remain friends and on good terms with the person that you are saying no to. That is a skill. We teach that as well. All right. But with this Masters of Education, these are the things I could not do that I really wanted to do. And coming back to a space where there are very few persons who are trained in sexuality, I realized, okay, the focus here and the interest and people reaching out went beyond what the MED could do. So what I could not do was address the needs of individuals or couples in terms of their personal and interpersonal challenges with their sexual functions or behavior. Right? That was not something that the Masters of Education allowed me to do. And I could not give necessarily specific suggestions or ways of resolving unsatisfying sex or healing from trauma. Those required a different type of skill set. And so as a CSC, which is a certified sex coach, which is clinical sexology training, I went on to do that, and I could practice clinical sexology. So I could assess and address sexual dysfunctions and issues using talk-based strategies. So finally, I can talk about the trauma. If someone comes and they have difficulty overcoming erectile dysfunction, or there are difficulties with orgasm, or they have sexual inhibition, or there's pain during intercourse, right? The clinical sexology training as a sex coach allowed me to assess where the person's at, what might be causing it, and then design an action plan. Now, these two models are models that I use in clinical sexology. Please note, there is not just one circle or segment that deals with physical. It is an holistic approach, and it has always been. Sex is way, way, way more than genital behavior. All right? So the MEBS model, that's the one I first learned about, and they're very similar. They were created by colleagues in the field separately, but they both have the same kind of experiences, the same kind of thoughts, the same kind of beliefs about how to address sexuality in a clinical practice. So when someone comes to me for an assessment and we're working together, I am assessing each one of these areas. Where are they in terms of their mind and mental? When we talk about the mind or mental aspect of sexuality, their beliefs, their thoughts, their self-talk, where you're really telling yourself, especially when you're in a sexual experience, what's going through your mind, right? Your knowledge of anatomy and physiology. What have you learned in terms of your beliefs around how sex should or shouldn't happen, and when it should happen, and with whom it should happen? What did religion teach you that you have embodied that may be inhibiting your ability to experience your full sexual and erotic pleasure? That's mind and mental. We also assess the emotional part of someone's sexuality. So are you carrying any baggage from the past? What is your level of passion like? Do you have trust issues? Are you able to, or do you have the capacity for intimacy? And when I say intimacy, I love to use the play on the word itself, into me see. So am I able to be open, honest, and vulnerable with a partner and still feel safe, secure, grounded, and loved? Do I have or do I experience what we often call the unholy trinity, fear, shame, and guilt? Those three emotions often come together, in a package, especially with folks who come from a religious, oppressive background. And then there is the body, the physical aspect. We assess that as well. So there we're talking about sensations. Are you able to feel sensations? Can you track them? Can you describe what's happening in your body? Where do you have pain? Where do you have numbness? Where and how do you experience pleasure? Do you understand how your anatomy works? What turns you on? What turns you off? And then we also assess energy sometimes and spirit. For some people, it's the same thing, right? But we assess, are you able to pick up and sense energy in your body and in the body of the persons that you are close to? Are you able also to move energy through your body? And you can learn to do that through breath work and different kinds of exercises. And then there's a spiritual aspect of sex. Nothing to do with religion necessarily, although for some people they're both the same. But in this aspect of sexuality, we are talking about how do you see sex as important beyond the physical experience? What does it do for you? What is the role or meaning of sexual interaction in your life? Is your sexual experience something that could bring you closer to yourself, closer to a partner, or closer to what you believe to be God or Creator, or a deeper connection with life and the environment around you? Yeah? And so all of that is assessed before we decide these are where the blocks are, this is what needs priority, and then we decide on an action plan going forward. Yeah? All right. So I'm going to pause here just for a few seconds to see if anyone has any concerns or questions. I'm not sure how folks are responding online or virtually if they are. So whoever is monitoring the chat online, please let me know if any questions or comments come up. Thanks. Yeah? If nothing, I will continue. All right, let's continue. All right, so the other model, which is very similar, there's specific training also for this model. And this is a model that allows clients to get up out of their seats and begin to engage the body. It can be, or it is designed as a ritualistic approach. And so you create a safe space, you and the practitioner. And I actually bought my version of this wheel. It's on the table across there. We can probably take a look at it at the end and talk about it. And maybe we can try it out and see how it's used. And we can do a little test run. But you are getting the body engaged. And so you are using all of the intelligences, not just what the brain provides, but also the intelligence of your gut. There's also the quote-unquote gut brain, your heart, and the entire body, and giving you clues about how to resolve the issue and perhaps what the issue is. Right, but in these talk-based approaches, what I found is that the healing was slow to come. It takes a while, which makes sense actually because the tool for sex is the body. And so if you're not working, if you're not connecting and aligning your belief, your brain, with heart and with the body, then they're not going to cooperate. They need to be in alignment, which is why it's extremely difficult to talk yourself out of trauma, because trauma is stored in your nervous system. Trauma is first and foremost how your nervous system and your body reacts to particular triggers. So no matter what your brain says, I mean, you could be very logical about it, but you have to convince the body and your nervous system that this thing, this person, this space is safe. Otherwise, it will continue to constrict, or shut down, or run and flee, or fight. Because the body's wisdom is to save you and protect you. So the brain has to shut down for you to, to fight, to run away, to stay safe, to appease, to shut down. So there's no thinking involved to keep you safe. Right? So learning to unwind, to release that trauma that's actually stored in the body tissues is something that I needed to learn how to do. So I needed to know, well, how do I tap into the wisdom of the body? So I made a decision to figure out that this needs to be done when I started getting clients who had vaginismus. Women have vaginismus because they have vaginas, right? So there's a particular dysfunction or issue that's called vaginismus. This is what vaginismus is. It is the inability for penetration to happen. The male partner, the insertive partner, literally feels, and the receiving partner literally feels like you're hitting a brick wall. Nothing is going through, and if it does, it is extremely painful and could cause bruising, and of course, bruising can lead to infection. Right? So there are two ways in which vaginismus can be experienced. There is like no penetration at all. And when I say no penetration, no pinky finger, no Q-tip. Cannot be examined by a doctor because the speculum that's used to insert can't get in. No tampon. Cannot insert medication if they have some kind of yeast infection or any other vaginal infection. Nothing is going up there. Yeah, the muscles there tighten and they shut down. And I could not figure out how do I treat this by trying to let this person talk their way out of this. The body was just like, nah, you can say what you want. You can talk all you want. I know this is not safe. We've done this before. It was painful before. We aren't going there again. So you end up in this cycle of pain happened or blockage happened. It was uncomfortable. Next time, I remember what happened. So I brace in. So because you brace, body constricts. Feels painful. Doesn't happen. End of that session. Next time you try, remember what happened the last time. Brace. So you end up, you literally end up in a cycle. Oops, went off. So you end up in this cycle of pain. And so for me, I had to figure out how do I help people befriend the body, become friends with your body again, yeah, and help the body, coax the body, persuade the body that this is safe, that there is no harm. Right, so I'm just going to pause for a few seconds so you could actually read the diagram there. All right, so initially painful it may be due to psychological causes. Yeah, the body in its wisdom is saying, danger, danger. And this is especially an issue with folks who come from religious spaces where sex is very, very restricted and it doesn't happen until marriage or it's not supposed to. And so even when you get married, the switch doesn't come on. It just doesn't say all of a sudden it's safe because you have embodied, you have taught your body that sex is dangerous. If you do it before now, there are serious, serious consequences. So the body believes you. You've been taught it for so many years. And so you're protective. And so when it says, right, marriage, everything should just turn on, it does not work like that. It doesn't just turn on. Now you have to reprogram. You have to deprogram what was programmed and reprogram the body to believe that this is safe. Yeah? All right. So everyone had a good view of I can go on? I can move on? All right. Lovely. Yes, I'm seeing a question. Similar challenge for men who come from, right. So the equivalent would be for men, the fear would show up as early ejaculation or erectile dysfunction. Yeah? Anything to shut the body down, to save you. So if you don't get an erection, you ain't gonna get in trouble. You understand? And if you ejaculate quickly, we could get it over and done with and you wouldn't feel the fear, shame, and guilt for very long. Let's just cut it quick. Yeah? And I'll also point out here that self-pleasure, solo pleasure, also known as masturbation, of course, if that is frowned upon, but this is how the young people have been dealing with the build-up of sexual tension as those hormones increase as they age, because the belief is that this is wrong, I need to get it done quickly, I need to get it done fast. And so you are training the body to experience orgasm really, really quickly. And so by the time you get to an adult, that's how the body's going to function. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. All right. Can I move on? Yeah? All right. So my ineffectiveness with vaginismus and other issues led me to seek out other tools and techniques to more effectively work with clients and allow me to work more directly through and with the body, which is the actual tool for sex. So for me, this would bring faster and greater improvement in sexual outcomes for my clients. So that began my journey searching for tools to work on, with, and through the body, and I discovered something called sexological bodywork and somatic sex education. Right, so let me see if I can differentiate between the two terms. So a somatic sex educator is also a sexological bodyworker, or may also be a sexological bodyworker. The tools there are taught as part of somatic sex education. So you become a sexological bodyworker, and then you add other tools to become a somatic sex educator. Right, I'll explain more of that later on. So this is body-based sex ed, body as in soma, from the Greek word, and that word considers the brain as part of the body. So there isn't this separation as in a lot of Western medicine, Western theories about, this is one part and this is one part. right? It is all of you that is considered in somatic sex education. So soma means the body in its wholeness. Ooh, are you all also seeing my notifications coming up there? No? Okay, great, because they're coming up on my screen. Sorry about that. All right, so sexological bodywork and somatic sex education, they go beyond the talk, and it combines our interpersonal neurobiology, understanding how my nervous system interacts with your nervous system, and that's something that is always happening. You don't pick it up, but the body is always scanning for safety in the environment. The brain doesn't participate in that. Yeah, it's why sometimes you may sit down next to somebody or you meet somebody, it's like, my blood intake, you don't know the person from Adam, you never met them, but there's just something that doesn't sit well with you. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a bad person. It simply means that the energy system and their nervous system is not compatible with yours. Yeah, so think about it that way instead of going straight to judgment. All right? Right, so it's how your nervous system is working. And so you're learning anatomical knowledge, how the body is set up. You are also learning touch skills. How do I touch someone in particular kinds of ways to calm the nervous system, to help the muscles relax, to help the breathing, your breath rate and your heart rate either increase for a particular reason or decrease for a particular reason. Practices to empower voice and choice. One of the first things that I do with my clients in an office using the body is checking in for what yes and no feels like in the body. What does a yes feel like? So when you say yes to something, do you notice that your shoulders feel taller? That there's more spaciousness perhaps in your gut? That your heart feels settled? Does a no feel like you want to curve in, or are there knots in your stomach? So learning to identify what yes and no feels like in the body. Because a lot of times we say yes or no to certain things and the body is saying something else because the body is picking up information that you are not paying attention to. I've literally had an experience in my office with a client who's, we were doing an exercise in practicing boundaries, in saying yes and no, so that this client is empowered to tell me no and feel in authority when they do that, when I suggest an activity that they may or may not want to do. Yeah, it's always a collaboration between myself and client. You are to follow your pleasure. You know your body or should know your body better than anybody else. So I am there to guide you, to help you figure that out, to understand the vocabulary and the language of your body, right? And so the exercise involves saying no, but also an action to match the no. And because this client is such a people pleaser, and it has difficulty saying no, what happened in the exercise is that often her body would say one thing and her mouth would say something else. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, recognizing within themselves the contradictions, that they may be agreeing to something and the body is totally not into it at all, and the body is saying this is not safe or this is not appropriate for you. But your mind and your brain, you've been conditioned to please this person or these people because then I'm part of the community, because then I'll be accepted. And so for this person, they had to get in alignment with what the body is saying and what the mouth is saying. Make sense? So practices to empower voice and choice, even as a client, to be able to be firm and strong in your no to me, and then we negotiate something else that feels pleasurable and welcoming in the body. Right? Most of us, when we go to an authority figure, especially when it comes to our health, we just leave it up to the expert because they know, they were trained. They know more. They're supposed to know what's good for me. Yeah? But there are things that your body is able to pick up that they can't. And you should be able to say to your healthcare provider, I'm not comfortable. No, I don't want to do it. Is there something else you could do? And then you both negotiate. They may be able to address the issues that are coming up and help all of you soothe. All right? Continuing. So, sexological bodywork and somatic sex education is grounded in the science of neuroplasticity, big word for some of us, probably the first time you're hearing it. So now you could use a fancy word. Neuroplasticity, and that's about neural pathways, how the nerves are connected in your body, how they're connected in the brain. and we could make new pathways. So an example would be every time I hear the rooster crow, I cringe and I want to go drink alcohol. It's like a programmed response. Yeah, you don't even think about it. So when you understand that there's this programmed response, what you need to do now is when that rooster crows, slow down, pause, take a few breaths, notice what's happening in your body, notice the urge to want to go drink this alcohol, and then make a different choice. And after a while, that different choice becomes a new pathway, a new habit, yeah? A new automatic way of behaving that is healthier for you. Did I say that in a way that makes sense to you? Yes? Okay. All right. So think neural pathways, ways that we think and automatically respond. And it's also based on what's called the polyvagal theory. Right? I'm going to explain a little bit of what those are. So neuroplasticity is another word for brain plasticity. The brain is able to learn new things and unlearn and learn new things. So it's your ability to change and to adapt. So we take into consideration the fact that the brain can do this. And it can do this, as far as we know, as far as the science is showing, in two ways. So there's a structural way, in order we change how those pathways work in our minds, and we can change that through giving ourselves certain experiences, going back to memories that were pleasant and were helpful. So it changes the brain's physical structure, how the neurons and nerves are connected. And then there is the functional neuroplasticity, where if one part of the brain becomes damaged, like in an accident or if you had a stroke, another part of the brain may be able to pick up the slack, take on that new role, right? So we understand and we learn this is how the brain works. Let's see if we can use this information to help people overcome trauma and to learn new behaviors, new habits, and learn it through the body. So, neuroplasticity, how can this happen? How can we affect how the brain changes and adapts? Well, there are positive and negative ways in which this can happen. So trauma changes how the brain works. Stress changes how the brain works. Social interaction, the experiences we have with family, friends, school, religion, etc., changes how the brain works. Meditation, emotions, learning, paying attention. Yet where your attention goes, your energy goes as well. Diet, exercise, and new experiences. So both the light and the dark experiences changes your neuroplasticity, the ability of your brain to adapt and change. So because we know that, we use that information in how we design lesson plans and activities to work with clients. Yeah? Polyvagal theory, what is this about? This is really, really important. So polyvagal theory looks at what's called the vagus nerve. Some people call it the God nerve, I think, just because of how it works in the body. All right? So there are different aspects of this nerve, this major important nerve in the body. One part of the nerve called the ventral nerve is about our social engagement. So we communicate, connection. Those nerve endings are in the face and the throat and the chest. Right? So it's why when you recognize somebody, you might smile so that, I know you, or that your heart may beat a little faster when you recognize somebody who you're attracted to or who you like, or of course beat fast because, oh my gosh, I need to get away from you kind of thing. And it helps us to rest, digest, or engage with ourselves and others. So that part of the nervous system, that's the job that has. The other part, the dorsal, is about shutting down and collapsing and freezing. It gives the body the messages to listen. You need to freeze to stay safe. You need to shut down to conserve energy. Or you need to shut down to prevent stress. Yeah, so our diaphragm, our gut, and our intestines, which is why, when you're nervous, butterflies in the stomach, that nervousness, that wanting to collapse, that freezing and that shutting down when you're really nervous, right? And so this is the last resort. If fight and fight isn't possible, you collapse. Life needs to be preserved. So freeze may occur, right? All these are responses to what's happening in your environment. And then there's the sympathetic aspect of your nervous system. That's the fight or flight. all right? Your first line of defense. So if something dangerous or uncomfortable is happening, you want to get out. You want to move away, or you want to defend yourself. Now note, this fighting and this defending yourself doesn't always have to be physical. If you feel that your values or your beliefs are being threatened, you may also react aggressively because you're fighting for what you believe. Yeah? Or the topic is really uncomfortable, so you excuse yourself. You want to go away. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to talk about this. So just know that that fight or flight, that discomfort in the body that makes you uncomfortable and I don't want to deal with this, not so much a brain. It is learning to be able to sit with discomfort and work through it and breathe through it. And so that fight or flight is not just about a physical fight or flight. All right? So your heart rate will change, your breath is shallow, your muscles will tense up. So the next time you're in a conflict with somebody, and it's not so much about physical safety, slow down, take what we call the sacred pause, and check in with your body and see what's happening with the body. Because your brain could always analyze and discuss, but it's not going to go there if immediately you feel threatened in your body, the nervous system doesn't feel safe, and you just want to leave, or you want to shut down. And just notice what's happening. And when you notice, you have more room to make an intentional choice. Yeah, did that make sense? Intentional choice? I'm not sure. Yeah, I can slip up with the English, so bear with me. All right. And so this is your ventral, this is your nervous system in different ways that your body can react to particular experiences. So you can become upregulated, lots of energy. You can become downregulated and slow, and you can become completely disengaged and collapse. And so because we as sexological body workers and somatic sex educators know this, we use breathing techniques or exercises or movements to help you manage this response. And we apply it to sexuality and sexual experiences. Yeah? One, in a very simple way, for example, for folks who are having difficulty, let's say, with experiencing pleasure or orgasm, breath work, so breathing in a particular rhythm, holding the breath or releasing the breath, long exhales versus short exhales have different impacts on the body. And so there's specific breathing techniques that help you to maintain arousal. Yeah? There are specific techniques that if you are very nervous and anxious, that will calm you and bring you to a settled position, a settled state where you can then attune to your partner's body. And so couple breathing together in particular ways and meditating together in particular ways and body positions in particular ways help with working through certain sexual challenges. Right. Of course, because we are dealing with the body and trauma is stored in the body, these practices are trauma-informed. All right? So we consider that trauma is pervasive. It is always around, and it's very possible that everybody who've come in contact with has experienced some level or some kind of trauma. And so we don't use practices that may inadvertently trigger somebody or re-traumatize them. So consent for us when a client comes into the space is ongoing. It is not that, okay, you come in, you agree to work with me, and it's done. Every exercise, every activity, I'm always renegotiating consent. So and clients can always change their mind. So for example, a client comes in and we decide we are going to do a specific movement, maybe some yoga poses. And while going through the practices, the client says something, I don't like this position, or I don't want to do this. Yeah, I said, okay, let's pause. What feels more accessible to you now? What feels more welcoming? Do you want to stop? And we stop and renegotiate something else. What has happened sometimes is if the client wants to inquire or investigate what is this position about? Why when I'm doing this position or this breath work, something is happening. Sometimes what it reveals is that this is the position that they were in when they were assaulted. And we're only going to go back to that position when they are ready to build capacity to tolerate the discomfort. And eventually let the body shake. They may cry, they may sweat. And that's a whole process of letting the trauma unwind from the body, so that when they get into that position again, it doesn't re-trigger or re-traumatize them. Yeah? Making sense? Yeah. All right, nice. Let's continue. I'm going to do a quick time check. How are we for time? Okay, good. All right, nice. So let me see if I can finish up in about 15 minutes and perhaps share like some case studies. Yes, let's see if we can do that. So this is what we learn in addition to actually working with the body. Bodies exist in societies. They exist in context. And so working with understanding how oppression affects the body, how people respond to their daily lives and having to deal with oppressive systems, anti-racism, gender and gender expressions, voice and choice. So there are techniques and exercises for all of these that we're learning and understanding how they affect the bodies. Diversity, privilege, how does privilege show up in how you interact with a client or how you as a practitioner interact with a client, making certain assumptions because you've lived a life of privilege and you don't understand how somebody's experience may affect how they're showing up. So learning about that. Learning how to ask for help. Like, I can't do this, please help. There is a sense of maybe shame in our part of the world around asking for help. You know, as if somehow we are supposed to be superheroes. We are actually built and created to be social creatures. We are supposed to support each other. All right, so learning how to be comfortable asking for help and saying, no, I can't do this, and I need help. All right, understanding power dynamics so that when you're working with clients or even with students, understanding that there are folks who are simply accustomed to a sense of entitlement, or that they're always able to do things and not recognizing that their very presence or their words may cause others to shut down. So understanding the power dynamics in a room, and learning when to move up to a speaking role or move up to a silence role. There's no move down or move back. If you're moving into a silence or less talking, you are learning how to listen better. Yeah, so move up and move up. All right? Right, that's basically that. New skills and new tools, and I hope I'm not going to go too quickly, right? So this is something that we also understand. Every emotion has a biochemical and physiological component. So your moods, relaxation causes the release of certain chemicals in the body. Arousal, certain chemicals in the body. Happiness, reverence, ecstasy, they all create. We have this internal pharmacy. Yeah? And so whenever you experience a particular mood, there are these corresponding releases of particular hormones, chemicals in the body, etc. Just as something for you to note. And of course, if you have some of those, if you're in a particular mood constantly, or particular emotions constantly, those biochemicals may actually begin to affect your tissues, which is why depression can actually begin to cause pain in the body. It affects your organs. If you're consistently producing chemicals coming from depression or anger or those negative emotions, those chemicals, those pharmaceuticals in your body, because they're there more often than they should and you're not releasing them or neutralizing them, they begin to affect your organs negatively. So that's how disease or dis-ease comes into play. So in our training, we learn exercises and conscious practices to regulate those components. So if I notice that I'm in an angry mood all the time, all right, what can I do to settle my body? What will feel good? How do I access my pleasure? And if I can't access my pleasure, how could I access something that feels better or that feels okay so that I'm not constantly in this particular mood? So finding ways to have more choice in terms of responding to situations that trigger you negatively. Yeah, so it may be, once again, particular yoga stretches that work. So the exploration of a client with me, we'll figure out, okay, what feels good? What is your toolbox of breath work, of movement, of music, of artwork, of dance? that works for you? Do you need more interaction with nature? What aspects of nature are healing? How do you need to interact with another human being? How does my body need to be in position or in relation to your body for you to feel safe in my office? Right, so sometimes when we do an alignment, an attunement, with a client, and a client comes in, where would you like to sit? What space in the room feels best for you? And they have to slow down and check in with the body and see what the body is saying. Would you like me this close to you or further back? Do you want me to angle my body this way? Do you want me side by side? What feels somatically supportive for you so that you're able to allow more information to enter into your system? Yeah? So this is all about having a respectful dialogue with your autonomic nervous system. How can I dialogue with my body? Let me talk. What's going on? Yeah, listening to your body, learning its language and its vocabulary, and then giving it what it needs so that it's in alignment with your brain. Right? And so all these processes can be held in mindful awareness, and you can transform the negative ones into positive ones. Working with trauma. So this gentleman, and the book, The Body Keeps the Score. For those who work in counseling and psychology, this may be very familiar to you. So this gentleman talks about 3 ways to help the brain and the nervous system heal and reverse damage that's done through trauma. So these 3 ways this gentleman identified. Talk down by talking. So reconnecting to others, allowing ourselves to know and understand what's going on with us while processing the memories. You know, sometimes when you talk about something and you hear yourself, you're able to better process what's happening. Right? So top down, talking and reconnecting and allowing ourselves to know and understand what's going on with us. So that way of processing. Taking medications. Sometimes the medications, what they do, and this may be very appropriate if there's extreme trauma and you need something that's a little bit more immediate. Taking medications can shut down inappropriate alarm reactions, right? So that's one way to change the way the brain is organizing information through taking medications. Then there's the bottom up, by allowing the body to have experiences that deeply and viscerally contradict the helplessness, the rage, or collapse that results from trauma. So an example is working with different body positions in the office. What position makes you feel powerful or makes you feel strong? What words do you want to add to that position? Is there breath work you want to add to that? And so clients literally have their bodies as their medicine, their breath as their medicine, their movement as their medicine, their words as their medicine. And of course, you can add to that changing in diet and lifestyle, deciding to avoid particular people who trigger you. Yeah? And of course, having a support system, somebody who's like your accountability buddy to check in with when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to slip, I'm going to do this thing that I know I shouldn't do, help. Yeah? Nice. So we do coaching in breath, we use movement, we use meditation, body awareness and tracking the body and learning how to dialogue with the body. Boundary setting, this is key for folks who have experienced trauma. Setting the boundaries, practicing that in your body so that your body feels comfortable and empowered to say no and it doesn't shut down. Right? Communication, the language of negotiating what you want and what you don't want. How do you negotiate that well? Of course, the anatomy and physiology knowledge. Sensate focus, that's a particular technique of working with your partner's body and your body. Massage techniques. And this is particularly helpful if there is scar tissue and there's pain in particular parts of the body that you want to work with. So we learn particular massage techniques, etc. There's a whole list of other things that we use. Right, so yeah, we are extra special. There are very few professions that I know of that works directly on, with, and through the body. And of course, if you're doing this as somebody working in sexuality, it can become very edgy. You know, people are usually concerned, what do you mean you work with the body? What does that mean you do? So I thought it was really important to explain. That's why I chose this topic, so that you have a better sense of how we work and what it looks like and how it can be really healing and helpful. Right? So we use touch for education, healing, and pleasure, a combination that you'll rarely see elsewhere. So even when you go to your gynecologist, or any other medical care profession, their touch makes sure that you are not in pain, that your tissues have healed. Their touch is not about helping you access your pleasure. Their touch is not about helping you track your body sensations for feeling better, right? Our touch and our kind of touch is about helping you access your pleasure and helping you find ways to make the body feel less pain. All right? Okay, let's continue. So we do genital work. What does that mean? We actually work directly with the genitals. Some muscles, like the pelvic floor muscles, are actually better accessed internally. There are some folks who do that, once again, simply to realign muscles, right? And to make sure there's no damage or no scar tissue. In our work, we actually access the genitals for what we call genital mapping. So you're literally mapping the parts of the genitals to identify, here is where you feel pain. There's numbness here, so you may need to do some more massage here. These are your pleasure zones. So you tell your partner, this is how to touch you in these zones. If we identify scar tissue, we use particular massage techniques to do what we call scar tissue remediation. So sometimes childbirth may cause scarring in the genital area, and that may be an area of numbness or pain. We can treat those areas to help reduce the pain and to redirect folks so they can find their pleasure elsewhere in the genitals. Yeah? Scar tissue remediation is really simple, but also very, very powerful. I remember having a client come in for treating a C-section, because sometimes it's still sore even years after birth. When one client came to me, her child was already 2 years old, but there was still tenderness and soreness around the scar tissue. And so, with that half hour, that 45 minutes in the office with castor oil and particular kinds of massage techniques, she left in less pain. She was like, what did you do? Where did the pain go? And that is, of course, hands-on touch, using castor oil and just being very slow and being very gentle. And the fascia, that's a particular type of tissue, begins to release. The scar tissue softens, and there's less pain. Right? So we do actually work directly with the genitals. I'm seeing a question.
Why castor oil?
Right. So the field has discovered that castor oil has particular healing benefits. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head what those are, but I know castor oil is able to address the immune system as well as soften the tissue. So it's really, really effective for softening scar tissue, more than any other oil that they've used in the industry. Yeah? In fact, you can buy what's called like castor oil packs and do your own treatment at home if you have any kind of scar tissue, not just for C-section. All right? Right. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this again. This is basically what I was just explaining, that we actually work directly with genitals. Anything else I want to have here? These are other folks who work with genitals, like an osteopath, but once again, it is to make sure there's no pain or damage. We go beyond just making sure there's no pain or damage and help you to actually access pleasure, access what feels good, and treat any scar tissue that may be interfering with sexual pleasure. And I'm going to pause here. There isn't a whole lot more here. It just gives more details about working with genitals. So I want to pause here for any questions, and I will still have enough time, I think. Yes, to give 3 examples of 3 different kinds of clients and how I've worked with those clients. So while I set up and pull up that presentation, are there any questions, concerns, comments from folks in the audience? Yes. Mike is coming.
Hi, I would like to know how you get involved in somatic sex therapy and how, because it's not something that you see advertising, it's something that I know. I have a close friend who does it. Right now she's studying with biopic or something like that. And I am curious about it, but I don't even know how she ended up finding out about it. I don't know. So how do we know?
Sis, I did a Google search, to be quite frank. I Googled some years ago, and but I was looking specifically for somatic sex education techniques. There are, so if you just type in somatic sex education training or somatic sex education institutes, you will find that there are specific schools around the world that offer a combination of online and in-person training for somatic sex education. If you are simply interested in somatic work, there is somatic experiencing. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. Somatic experiencing, it is so intense, it's almost like doing a whole master's program. That was created by Dr. Peter Levine. Are you familiar with? Right. He created somatic experiencing certification. That is also online, so you don't need to travel to do any part of it. Super, super expensive, but they do offer a lot. They offer scholarships and some form of payment plan. So somatic experiencing, somatic sex education institutes. And then somatics are usually part of programs in psychology. So now, the Western world is catching up with the knowledge of our indigenous folk and of our ancestors. I just had to put that in. But somatic work is often part of psychology programs now, or counseling programs. So at this point, if you just Google it, you should be able to get a list of options for institutions and organizations that offer the training. It shouldn't be so hard to find. Yeah. What else can I share? Yeah, it'll come up. If you also look for Somatic Sex Educators Association, so that umbrella association, you would pull up for you all the accredited trainings. Yeah? So they will say these institutions are accredited, you can study here, you can do this kind of training here. So Somatic Sex Educators Association, or anything like that, those are umbrella organizations. So they do have, like a code of ethics, etc. Yes. And they would monitor the standards of the training. If there are complaints from clients, the complaints will go to them, and they may intervene to bring about some kind of resolution if a client had an issue with a practitioner. So they would also have a list of organizations that are current and accredited who would give training in somatic work. Yeah? Was that helpful? Yes? Okay, good. All right. Is another presentation, is it up on the screen? Are you all seeing that? Yes, I see another.
Yes, thank you. Quick question concerning your clients. Do you find that women and equally men are aware that maybe I have an issue and the health-seeking behavior, I mean, we know men usually are less so inclined. But what does your clientele look like in terms of men recognizing they may have issues, they may need help, nowhere to go, women as well? Who comes in? Is it couples that, eventually realize we have a situation or require some sort of assistance?
Right, got you, yeah. You asking answers. So, unfortunately, the dynamics, the ratio of men to women, it looks the same in my practice, and maybe even more so where a lot more women would seek my help, because women tend to be, we tend to use the healthcare system a lot more than men. And not just for healing, but a lot of it is preventative work as well. We tend to focus a lot on preventing things from getting worse. And I've spoken to other healthcare providers, like those who are focused on men and men's health issues, just so that I can make a connection and say, hey, if you have, if your male clients are interested or they need help, I'm available, this is what I can do. And even the male healthcare providers were complaining about male patients. It's like, so the men are fed up of the men. And so I'm hoping a lot more men become involved in encouraging each other to be more health-seeking, as you put it. What often happens, and I was so shocked when I experienced this while listening to a well-known urologist from Trinidad, and a conversation that took place in his office is the exact conversation that took place in my office. And here's how the conversation went. couple comes in and the practitioner, the healthcare provider says, okay, so what can I do for you today? How can I help? And the man says, me know she bring me a she. Word for word. I was speechless. I was stunned for a while. I'm like, this is a well-known, very, he gets great results at his urology. I mean, the dude knows his stuff. He gets great reviews, right? And this is like as a couple from Trinidad, completely different social context you would think, or in some ways many different social contexts from Tobago, but the conversation, same thing. Me, I know she bring me she. As if the woman just ups and brought the man there, on a whim. And so, it's that's still a challenge. It's still a challenge. Yeah, unfortunately. Yes. Any more questions or comments before we continue?
So your discourse deal with impotence, premature ejaculation, and women talk about not realizing or having an orgasm.
Right. So I did not address those issues today. Those are issues that I deal with when clients come in. Right. So this evening is simply sharing what I do and how I do it and a particular way of working with clients. But yes, I work with clients who've experienced early ejaculation, premature ejaculation, difficulty with orgasm, painful sex, overcoming sexual trauma, sexual inhibitions, and even folks who simply want to enhance what they already have. So there are people who come, they have no problem, but they want more. I also work with clients like that. Does that answer your question?
Well, you said you didn't do it,
Yes.
but those services are available.
Yes, Sue. Correct. Those services are available. All right, so let's spend the last few minutes looking at some examples. Yes.
When you say suggest in that, because what I've noticed is that younger and younger men seem to be having this
Mm-hmm.
how does the nutrition that the foods and all that you consume, how does that ultimately affect, or is it just a total, they try to tell you that it's a mental something. How does that really affect?
Right. So, like any other health issue or dysfunction, it is often a really good idea to start looking at your diet and what you're consuming. Now, erections are an issue of blood flow and blood pressure. If you're not having enough blood flow or your blood pressure is not where it should be, erections can't happen. Yeah? Blood pressure directly related to your diet as well. Yeah, so if you have high blood pressure or if you're not exercising, you're not, and your arteries, your blood vessels are clogged, and the blood isn't getting to where it needs to go to, and it's not getting there fast enough. Making changes in your diet will definitely help. Now, there isn't any research that has been done locally to make a direct correlation between diet and the number of young people, young men in particular, who are experiencing more and more erectile dysfunction, but I have heard the complaints. They have come to me. It is something that we've noticed in the field. But who's going to spend money to study sex in Tobago? Who giving me that money, Dee? You want to study what? With who money? Taxpayers' money to study sex? Really? But once again, if we don't make the connections between a healthy sex life and good choices in terms of our sexual behavior and relationships and family life and negotiating and domestic abuse and domestic violence, then we are missing a key part of holistic education for everybody that could lead to better outcomes for our whole society. But to answer your question, I would refer people to a nutritionist or a dietitian, especially if the man comes in and is young and is supposed to be having, decent erections. something is wrong somewhere. If I send them to a nutritionist or to the healthcare provider, they do the assessment and it's not diet related, then we look at the psychological issues that may be happening with that person. But there's no doubt for most of us in our minds that what we're eating and our lack of exercise and lack of taking care of the body well directly impacts your sexual function. I hope that's a good enough answer for you now. Welcome. All right, I can continue? Yeah? All right, so this is some examples of how I would work with a client to propose action plans. So onboarding, so the journey starts. So when somebody comes to me, first thing I do is a 15-minute consultation. I do, and these are free because I want to make sure that I'm actually the right professional for you. Sometimes folks come to me and they really need to go to their doctor first. You know, sometimes they come to me and they're like, no, you need to go to a urologist or you need to go see a psychiatrist. There's some things you may need to take care of before I can work with you because my skills are very specific. And there may be things that they need to treat before they come to me. So that 15-minute consultation allows me to determine whether this person is the right fit for my practice and for the services that I offer. There's a thorough intake form where I'm asking questions about your sexual history, a somatic assessment. So I'm assessing how connected you are to your body. Yeah? How are you able to track what's happening with your body? How can you have a dialogue with your body to get your body to cooperate with you? Then we design and discuss an action plan and we move forward. So if we get past the consultation, then we get into the actual session. What are the issues and the challenges? How can I help? Am I the appropriate professional for you? Sorry, that's in the inquiry. This is a little snippet of my sexual history form that clients will have to fill out. The body-based assessment, breath work, tracking. There's something called neuroception and interoception just to figure out how deeply are you able to track things happening in your body. And of course, we design and discuss the action plan. So let's take an example of client one. So this client, we're just going to call him Joseph D, comes in, and these are this client's overall goals and intentions. So they want more confidence, including more confidence in their body image and their genitals. They have issues with his size. A lot of men come in and some of the questions they ask is, can I make this bigger? Bigger for what? For who? Where are you going to put that if you get bigger? Why do you think everybody wants it? So heal erectile dysfunction. So this client had issues with being able to maintain an erection. They wanted to also undo shame from the past and connect with their body in a deeper way. And they wanted to be a great sex partner. So they actually wanted to contribute more to the interaction with their partner. They felt that they weren't doing enough. So in the assessment, how do you rate yourself as a lover? Out of 10, what would you give yourself? And some people, oh my God, a 5. So you're 5 out of 10 as a lover. What do you think you need to do more or learn how to do? So this was this client's, their overall intentions and goals. This is what was this one part of the suggestion, 10 sessions once a week. People could negotiate that. They could come once every 2 weeks, once a month, according to their schedule or their budget. And at every session, we check in. How was your day? How was your week? What is it like to be in your body today? And what do you want to do today? What do you want to focus on? These are all the options, but what does your body feel really drawn to today? And I hope you folks can see that. And so these are the list of things that we had on the action plan. So assessing their ability to track what's happening in their body and outside their body. Wheel of consent. How do they negotiate boundaries and communication? Relaxation exercises, the basics of touch, body image exercises, a bossy massage. That's a particular type of massage where you are tracking your body and asking for what you want, tracking your body, moving and asking for what you want. You can actually find an example of bossy massage on YouTube. So if you just type it in, you'll actually find an example. A mindful erotic practice. This is for them to be able to manage and control their arousal and their ejaculation, etc. So we actually teach how to do solo pleasure better for learning how your body works and for being a better lover. Right? So for us, it's not just about, go and release yourself. A mindful erotic practice has an intention, a set time, it has specific breath work, it has specific movement, there is journaling, there is setting up your environment and your space, and then there is tracking the outcome. And meditative practices as well. Full body pleasure mapping, no genital, so mapping what pleasure can you find on your face, in your head, on your neck, on your arms, lower back. So we track the entire, and we map the entire body for pleasure, right? So that's pleasure mapping. And you can see the list of other things that was on this person's action plan, the different things that we are teaching in a session. I am seeing a smile on your face, sir, and I'm really curious. This is not for you to do with a person, you know. This is what's happening, and this is what I'm teaching a client or doing with a client in a session. So this person came in, and for every session that they're seeing me, and it may be 2.5 hours, these are the things that I'm teaching them. Yeah? And if somebody's in their full pleasure, there is no changing of mind. There's changing of technique or positions. There's let's pause and get some water and come back. You know, the changing of mind happens if it no longer feels good and it no longer feels welcoming. And you haven't negotiated and communicated something else that feels better or feels okay. There is no rush to get to the end. There is learning to be in your body and in your pleasure moment by moment. Once you start putting those goals in place, we need to do this. She needs to come. You know, she needs to come 3 times. And only half an hour. The body doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that very well. And it's not going to work like that all the time. So just as you prioritize your other aspects of your health, you want to sit down and eat a proper meal, you want to, take a bath and clean all the crevices on your body, you also want to prioritize your erotic and sexual experiences. And if you only have half an hour, you ain't going to try to put all that in there, so we have half an hour. What feels good and feels best for this half an hour? We only doing that? Okay, good, we will do this for this half an hour. I see the ladies in front here. Ladies, don't you wish the men knew and understood this? Like, okay, that's my bias coming out. Apologies. That's my bias. I hope I addressed your concerns. It's a negotiation. It's a dance. And every moment and every experience is unique in and of itself. Right? So I'm not going to go through too much of this. This is really technical language, but these are things we teach about how to make deeper connections with your body. If you close your eyes, do you know the position that your body is in? Can you track your heart rate? Can you feel your heartbeat all the way down into your left elbow? Could you track the flow of blood? Do you think you can figure out where the food is now in your stomach that you ate at lunchtime or ate an hour ago? So it's really, really deep body knowledge and understanding how your body works. And we're going to go to the last example here. This is Natalie. Natalie wanted to feel empowered in her body. These are her goals and intentions. She wanted to be more present in pleasure and in finding more pleasure. So her mind strays. Why to cook later, boy? How to help Joseph with his homework later? But sex happening, but she's not there. Her mind is somewhere else. And which makes it, of course, difficult to experience orgasm. And then, she may get dry and it becomes painful, things like that. She wanted to be able to speak up more about what she wants and what she doesn't want. So being comfortable with sexual language. Not having that shame or fear or guilt about being judged about what you shared. Practice noticing what's happening in her body and to be able to read her body. When we are so in our heads, we get disconnected from how the body works and what the body needs. So she needed to make that reconnection. And of course, learning about boundaries and communication. Right? How to negotiate the no's, the yes, and the maybes with her partner. Right? And so, suggested number of sessions, what we do at each session, check in and set our intentions for the session. And then, once again, a list of proposed activities for her to address her issues. I'm just going to let you scan that for a while. building a touch palette was very important for her because she was so disconnected from her body. So having like a box with different objects that she's touching, experiencing on different parts of her body, so that she is now, what happens, just like muscles atrophy when we don't use them, when we are not touching often, or we didn't get a lot of touch or holding and hugging, those nerve endings also begin to atrophy. They begin to die away. And so what you need to do is to once again reactivate them by telling the body, hey, these are important things. And so they begin to, regrow, become dense again. Yeah, so you're getting rid of the numbness. I've had one client explain that to me, that he would touch his partner and feel nothing. It's almost like there's nothing there. So for him, we would spend time waking up the hands. Just waking up the hands, different kinds of touch, different pressure, speed, patterns, until he began to feel his own hand. So he couldn't even feel his own hand. And so if he touched a partner, there was nothing. So sex it didn't do anything for him because there's no nerve endings to receive the sensations. Yeah? So, yes. And I will stop there. I'm sure you're all tired of hearing my voice go on and on and on for so long. But this, this is the end of my presentation. So if there are questions, comments, concerns, I don't know how much time we have. Mr. Pickett, could you tell us if we have any time left at all?
Yeah, we have some time.
We have some time? Okay, good. Okay, good.
For, other things. We do have a question
Yes.
on Facebook, and I think you addressed this already, but I'll ask it anyway. Could many of our social problems be related to dysfunctional sexuality?
Yes. Yes, of course. So if I go back, if you can recall the circles of sexuality, where we spoke about sensuality and we spoke about negotiation and we spoke about consent, all of those are aspects of our sexual wholeness and wellness. If we are talking about the skills to negotiate what we want in a relationship, and we are unable to find satisfaction with our partner, oftentimes that stress spills over into how we interact with our children, how we interact with family. Sometimes the inability, once again, to be in consent, to set boundaries, means people are in conflict often. If we're talking about quote-unquote stability of families, and if a lot of that stability is rooted in sexual satisfaction, and this is where it gets interesting. Because people place such low priority on sex, the expectation is within a partnership, well, if I don't want sex, you should just relax and accept that because it's no big deal. Yeah? But sex is part of how we feel not just connected to a partner, but to ourselves. That pharmacy of chemicals that's released during sexual activity are actually really good for our well-being. So there are benefits of having regular, safer sex. Note I say safer sex. Because you're just defeating the purpose if you're out there just randomly exposing yourself to all kinds of STIs. But having a really good, grounded sexual experience spills over into vitality for life. Once you've had good training in how to negotiate what you want out of sex, those same negotiation skills are applied outside. And so, example, teaching about consent, those are skills we take into the workplace. Yeah? Negotiating your boundaries, learning how to understand power dynamics. Those are things you take into the workplace and within your family. So everything that we teach in sex and relationship education are skills for living life well and for being able to find your pleasure without infringing upon the rights and pleasures of others. Yeah, I don't know if I'm making a connection that's strong enough for folks to understand. But because sex is such a deeply intimate connection or interaction with people, and it's really intense because sexual energy can be really powerful, it literally can be something that has you in a trance-like state. When you learn how to manage that within yourself, you can be activated, erotic, aroused in the presence of someone else and not feel that you have to act on it. Yeah? And learning how to manage that within yourself, you're also going to learn how to manage the presence of other people in your space, because it's bodies in connection with other bodies. Other bodies are going to activate you even if they don't say anything. But because you're learning those skills in sex education, those are transferable skills. Is that helpful? Is that? Well, it's recorded. I believe it's being recorded, so
It is,
so perhaps
it is.
folks can replay that. But there's so even if you're not using your genitals for sexual experiences, the skills that you are learning as part of sex education are transferable skills for life. You're taking that sacred pause, checking in with your body, seeing what wisdom the body is bringing in that the brain can't. So you put together the brain knowledge with the body knowledge, and you have a more holistic set of data and information to make better decisions. You know? So yeah. Any other questions, concerns, complaints? Sure.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that, for sharing your expertise all the time. I'm always amazed at how academic this field of it's health
Yeah, it is.
and education is, that we kind of skirt over when you think about the proverbial quickie. I mean, you know what I mean? That
Yes.
we think sex is just this one area, and it can impact our entire lives. That what you just said about being in a state and not having to act on it, but it provides vitality and all that within. Would you even go on to expand the definition of safe in terms of not just safe clinically or medically, but safe in your head, where your values are concerned, that would enhance your experience? I mean, when you think it's the right place, time, person, etc. That's kind of a question, but I really just wanted to say thank you for sharing as you do. And I don't know how you and your fellow colleagues or experts in that arena can, bring our leaders into a place of realizing how important, how critical, because we place a lot of emphasis on the sort of negative approaches to sexuality and sex education and all of that, instead of teaching it right, so maybe the lens, we need new lens in terms of looking at how understanding, the comprehension, the holistic view of that can totally impact our society, instead of beating people over the head about it, but going about it from a different angle. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome very, very much. And I will quickly address the safety. From a clinical perspective, we often use the word safer sex, because once you're engaging in sex, there's always an element of risk. So it's safer once you're protecting yourself, whether that's with barrier methods, condoms, so you're not exchanging body fluids, or making sure that you are planning your pregnancies, or your family planning is involved in that safety as well, making sure you're not finding yourself in a situation where you are bringing human beings into the world and you are not mentally, emotionally, financially, able to provide all that they need. So there's that level of safety. One of the things that we teach, especially when we're teaching about consent and refusal skills and abstinence, is values clarification. We don't impose our values as educators or therapists. We expose people to a range of values that they explore, and they identify which of these values represent me, which of these will help keep me safe. And then how do I have a conversation about my values with a new partner, with somebody I've just met, to make sure that we're on the same page? Those are skills we teach. Yeah? And those are also skills that are transferable to a applying for a job or working, with another business person, do we have the same values? And how are those values activated and how they show up in life? So values clarification is key to keeping you safe and keeping you in alignment with your goal, in alignment with who you are, in alignment with how you operate in the world, so that you are safe mentally and you are safe emotionally, and sometimes, of course, safe physically. Because if somebody else's values around keeping the workplace healthy, cleaning up regularly, providing, safety gear is kind of lax, but your values, different. Should you be working in that space? Yeah, so values clarification is key. And also pointing out to folks that as we grow and as we change, values may change. So that regular checking in of your values. Just as our bodies change as we get older, regularly checking in with our bodies to see, well, this used to be hot for me 5 years ago, but in this body, perimenopausal, menopausal, age, whatever, something else feels good. I need to figure out what that is. Yeah? So it's dynamic, and you need to keep in connection with yourself and in connection with your partners. I hope that answered your question. All right, beautiful people. Yeah, one more, yes, sir. And then there might have to be an entirely different workshop for what you're requesting, because I do those too, but yeah, entirely different workshop. Sorry?
In terms of the initial attraction, you talk about the parables or something like that, that could cause that.
Is the mic on?
Yes.
Hearing you now, yes.
Right. In terms of that initial attraction that could cause an encounter,
Right.
a sexual encounter, is it pheromones or something that they talk about?
That's involved too, yes. Your pheromones,
Right.
sex hormones.
Right. What part? Because I've been trying to see if I could enhance mine.
Right.
But
That depends. When you
I'm
say enhance,
thinking-
when you say enhance yours, you mean you want your body to produce more sex
no,
hormones?
I want to be conscious of it. I
Okay,
want to be able
got
to
it.
detect, what it is, right? But as curious as a question the sister asked there, what part or how does you talk about heterosexual sort of a relationship, but what part homosexuality plays in this whole dynamics of sexuality? And you notice that the world is going about this change, at least the leading things. What part does that play? And do you say that they're not having the same benefits as, or what is that?
Right.
Is it mental or purely physical, wrong genes, or what you may call that?
Okay. So they're no different from you, except they prefer same-sex attraction. There's no difference. There has, as far as I am aware, there's no mental health issue that it used to be a part of what the Americans call the DSM. That is their how do I explain that? Their manual that identifies mental health issues and mental health challenges. And at one point in the US DSM some years ago, they classified homosexuality as a mental disease or mental health issue. That wasn't based on any kind of real research or anything that they could detect that was wrong in the brain or any other part of the system. Before there was this seemingly worldwide issue with homosexuality, persons who were not heterosexual were welcomed as part of the diversity of human sexuality. We've always had people who were not heterosexual. One argument that is often used is that you don't see it in nature, and that is absolutely not true. There are many, many examples in nature of animals that engage in non-heterosexual behavior. There are some animals that would change their sex depending on the population of male and female within their space. There are certain species of fishes, they may spend part of their life male, and if the population shifts, whether it's because some fish got caught and die out, all right, we need some more females in here, let me change. So I guess that's one way of identifying the fact that even in nature, transsexual and transgenderism exists. Nature has always been sexually diverse, always. And there are some cultures in which folks who are non-heterosexual, notice I'm using that word non-heterosexual because people are also fluid. There are folks who are asexual, they have no sexual attraction for other human beings at all. They don't have that urge to have sex with other persons, and they're called asexual. There are persons who are bisexual. There are persons who call themselves queer, which means they can be attracted to people based on their personality and who they are, that have nothing to do with their bodies and their genitals. In many cultures, those folks are considered special or spiritual because their bodies use sexual energy in what they consider to be a quote-unquote magical way. So they're not identified as something is wrong or you need to be denied particular rights or something went off. They are considered to be the gateway or the connection between masculine and feminine energies. They are considered to be folks who have a special connection with Creator because Creator created their bodies in a very extra special way. So it all depends on how you choose to view people who are different, who don't blend with the majority. But there have always been a minority of folks and animals and plants in nature that are not heterosexual. Always been there. Always been there. Not always condemned and seen as bad or wrong or sick in the head. Yeah? It is what it is. Yeah? All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for your questions, your engagement. Thanks. Really appreciate folks coming out. Thanks for those who are on virtually, who stayed with us until the end. If anyone needs to reach out to me, is it okay if I share? Yeah? So you can find me on Facebook, O. Henry Consultancy. So I have a Facebook page. You can also get me on WhatsApp at 381-3049, 381-3049. That is my WhatsApp connection. So if you have questions or you want to meet with me or have me at any of your events, feel free to reach out and see what we can work out. Right? Always a wonderful opportunity to share. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Henry. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. So in summary, seek help if you need it and use it before you lose it. A couple of things that she said. She did say that. She did. More or less, I paraphrased. So right now we're going to welcome Kavesha to the stage to bless us with a cultural expression. Okay, as we proceed this afternoon.
Behave yourself. Hello, everybody. So what I have here, I have a couple poems as well as a song, right? So I'm just going to read the poems for you all, right? Kisses pressed against smile like lip gloss. Tongues dancing that waltz bodies into walls. Breaking breaths like bread, feasting quickly but slowly. Fingers intertwined like baskets trapping heat. Eyes telling stories of voiceless souls bearing a kaleidoscope of memories. Arms that feel like home. I love yous that smell like wet t-shirts from tears that reek of honesty and trust. Surely something created for my pleasure would be spelt with 8 letters. Felt like aching feet being rubbed past 10. 10 fingers gripping tightly to thighs. To keep legs stationary, eyes asking politely to never leave, 8 letters written to say I love you. There's somebody, the wait will be worth it. All right. Another one. I admire the way he moves. Lightning has taught him how to glow and not sting. He is light on his feet like a majestic jellyfish. Eyes shut, bodies twisting, sweet he unravels under a sea of red. He is all of my childhood, kissed, now seeing morning after so long. I admire the way she dances with him from across the room. It is 12 a.m. and her heels are hidden below a table. They are married to the music. She is a ballerina on her tiptoes. They are midnight fairy tale. The name of the song I'm going to sing for you today is called Alas. It could be found on all streaming platforms. Just search my name, Kevisha, Kervisha. I always dreamed of nights where I feel loved. I always hoped I won't feel my heart crying. Alas, my love has laid me down. Alas, my heart is free to sing love. I don't want you to leave, no. I won't see me without me, not me. I don't want you to leave, no. I won't see me without me, not me. Pretty bird, pretty butterfly, where have you been all my life? Seen your hurt, seen your midnight sky. Don't treat me like it's by and by. You don't bruise, you don't feel, you don't hurt. Yet I know that inside is much worse. And I seen the damn in your heart burst. To fix it, yeah, I know it's much work. 'Cause you tried so hard to patch your scars, and I see the light in it, and I know that you're winning. So I always dreamed of nights where I feel loved. I always hoped I won't feel my heart crying. Alas, my love has laid me down. Alas, my heart is free to sing low. Love, love, free to sing low. All right, that is our last. I'll give you all one more poem and then I'll be gone. If showers could speak, they'd tell stories about the tears that flow heavier than they ever will. They'd debut all your fake arguments. They'd remind you that you are not your mistakes, then sing along to your favorite songs. They'd tell you to dance, to lose yourself, to be naked, body, mind, and soul. They'd remind you to forgive yourself every day, to bandage your broken and not bend and break. But since they cannot, I will. 1. Know that your tears have flooded bathroom floors. Sometimes you have to let it out to refill. Know that your opinion is important, that you are beautiful and amazing and more than your mistakes, that if you think it's the best song ever, then it is. Lose yourself even to the offbeat. Dance into your happiness. Forgive yourself. Bandage your broken and allow yourself to heal. Do not keep removing the Band-Aid. Respect the process. Bend and do not break. Thank you so much. All right. I could be found on all social media platforms as Kavisha, but particularly on Instagram and Twitch. I am Butterfly Bad, Butterfly, Bad, Bard. Thank you so much.
Wow, I think everybody was mesmerized. Like, we didn't even care about, like, no audio. I found myself just, I stopped taping or kind of thing because I get distracted. Your voice is so beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Kavisha. And everybody make sure and follow her and support locals, support our local talents. There's only a few of us on the island, so we need to really band together. Want to open the floor now to the founder of the Tobago CivilNet, just to Mr. Rodney Piggott, to give the vote of thanks and to close today's seminar. And again, thank you so much for coming. I'm Asabi Catterson. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. And that was our flight attendant. Did a wonderful job this evening. Thank you all for coming out. And just when I thought that, Onika, I was trying to tabulate what you would typically charge for something like this, and I couldn't. I started at like $1,500. Am I even close? Right, somewhere around there, right? And I said to myself, okay, all right, so this was a $1,500 evening we had. And then Kavisha got up there. And she took that bill up to what? $2,500. She is really, you're really good. You're really, really good. I really, your voice is, keep it up. How long have you been doing the spoken word?
I started spoken word maybe when I was like in upper six, maybe around like 18,
Okay.
17, somewhere there.
And what do you know, like 20?
Thank you. I'll be 26 in July.
Very good. Did a wonderful job. Thank you so very much. And we'll be calling on you again in the future. Let's give her all a round of applause. Yeah. Okay, so this is where we give our thanks. And I wrote it out so that I don't forget anyone. And of course, first of all, to the Most High Creator, known by many names, but we know there's only one. We give thanks. To our presenter, Ms. Onika Henry, we give thanks for her powerful presentation to the people of Tobago and those viewing around the world. Her contribution is invaluable. Forget that $1,500 tab. Invaluable. And we encourage all who want to learn more about what she does and those who may need her services to reach out and contact her. She gave her information. And if you missed it, it is recorded on our Facebook page, Tobago CivilNet, so you can always go back and play that back, and that information will be there. To our host and flight attendant, Mrs. Sabi Caterson, for guiding us seamlessly through this evening's presentation. And she also designed our promotional flyer for this event and did a beautiful job with that. We give thanks to her. To the Scarborough Library for granting us this auspicious space, and Ms. Job, who's not here, but she worked closely with us to ensure a successful offering to the people. We give thanks to her. To Sherwin Forbes in the back, or Mr. Fox Entertainment, and he's available for hire. You can find him on Facebook, and I'm sure, I don't know if he has any business cards with him, if anyone wants to maybe hire him for his services. He provided this professional audio services as well as live streaming services, which of course allowed us to provide quality audio for all in physical attendance and those in virtual space to hear the educational information shared this evening. To Community Development for granting us the use of their videographic equipment along with the videographer. I don't know if it's ComDev equipment or if it's your personal equipment, but anyway, Mr. Venerick Cupid, which of course allowed us to tape and cast this great information to our Facebook page so that those who could not be here can view it in real time or for future playback. And of course, to the Holistic Health Awareness Committee of Tobago, CivilNet, who worked tirelessly in all areas of preparation for this event. And again, to Ms. Kavisha, I cannot say how much we want to give thanks. That was such a beautiful, beautiful performance, and we hope to hear more from you. Last but certainly not least, we give thanks for all of you who came out this evening and who are viewing online, who took time to share this event with friends and family, for truly without each and every one of you who care greatly about not only the health of your body, mind, and spirit, but also the holistic health of others, we give thanks and we give thanks and we give thanks. In closing, those who want to push and pull with us on this great need to raise our awareness on holistic health, we encourage you to join our committee, the Holistic Health Awareness Committee. If not, you can also join Tobago CivilNet. We are looking for bright minds, young minds. It's a civil organization, NGO, has no political ties whatsoever. And as I said in the beginning, we're about raising the awareness of Tobago in particular in all areas of people activity. We did a wonderful job in the politics with the THA 2021 Part 1 and Part 2, and even the GET 2020. And now we're moving into other areas of people activity. A lot of people don't know on the island that politics is simply one aspect of culture, and it is not the entire culture. And so we're trying to really pull at the other facets of our culture to bring those to the attention of people. So if you want to join us, join the committee or join a Tobago CivilNet, you can contact me, Rodney Piggott. My number is 323-1958, or you can send an email to tobagocivilnet@gmail.com. And again, thank you all for coming out, and safe driving home.